let's start this vlog off with some not going anywhere. What's going on, fellow redliners? So today we got a very, very cold wintry day. I think the temperature right now is around minus 30 degrees. What we're going to do is actually start off the day by returning something I bought in order to try and fix my car. Obviously it didn't really resolve the issue at all or do anything, and that's why we're going to return it. So without further ado, let's go check and see what it was. So what is this, you guys may ask? Well, I actually bought a heater for the garage in order to try and see if, and troubleshoot to see if something that was wrong with the Genesis could actually be resolved by this. And the answer to that question was no. It actually didn't do anything, but that actually turned out not to be the issue. So what we're going to do is pack this up, return it, and then hop in the car, and I'll start explaining what the heck happened. So here we go. So I figured I'd demonstrate to you guys one of the Genesis' biggest flaw, how narrow this area is. As you can see, this doesn't fit in there at all. So what am I gonna have to do? Throw it in the passenger seat. All right. So what's up, guys? So I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of an explanation as to why I went out and bought that big heater. So essentially my wheel wasn't turning properly, and it was very, very hard to turn. So I was like, okay, you know what? It's probably normal. It happens here all the time. Ice and snow kind of builds up in the wheel wells, which it doesn't allow the wheel to turn properly, which as a result creates, a lot of feedback and doesn't let you turn the wheel properly. So I was like, you know what? The garage is at 45 to 50 degrees throughout the winter months, but I'm going to go buy this huge heater for, I think it was like $170. It was the best heater Walmart had. And I was like, you know what? I'll put this there for the night and, heat up the garage to the point where everything will melt, just to rule that out as to, a potential issue that causing the steering wheel not to turn properly. So I went out and bought it, set it up, left it there for about, 3, 4, 5 hours at the maximum setting. Came back, 4 or 5 hours later, I think it was almost 5 hours, and just noticed that the garage had not actually, increased in temperature whatsoever. Just hang on, let's get some shade here. So the garage didn't increase at all. So I was like, okay, that's very weird. Maybe it's just really, really cold outside. That could be a problem. Went over to the heater, put my hand over it, and noticed, wow, this thing's barely putting out any heat at all, and it's on the maximum setting. So I'm like, this thing's a piece of junk. Like, I just spent $175 on this piece of junk and it didn't fix my issue, nor did it provide any heat. So that's why we're going to go return it. So in order to just ease my worries as to whether or not it was ice and stuff building up in the wheel wells, took it over to a heated parking garage, left it there for about 4 to 5 hours, and I think the heated garage is probably around 65, 70 degrees. So I was like, okay, that'll resolve all my issues. Came back, picked it up, nothing. Wheel's still as hard as it was before. So I was like, okay. What I figured, I'm like, okay, maybe the power steering fluid's low. Why don't we go and check that? So that's why we're over here at Walmart now, returning this piece of crap that I bought, and I'll continue the story when I come back. So now that we've returned $175 worth of trash, let's get back in the car. And I have the ultimate no ding squad area here, right by this huge mountain of snow. Let's get in there and start blasting the heat, because it's about minus a million degrees out here. All right. So I figured while we're in this huge parking lot, which has no cars in it, why don't we go for a few donuts? A few donuts can never hurt. Let's go. Alright, so now that our quick fun is done, I'll get back to the story. So I checked the power steering fluid, noticed it was just marginally low. It was actually sitting on the low mark, so I'm like, okay, that could be it. Most likely not, but that could be it. So I decided to set out on a trek to find this Hyundai power steering fluid, which is actually made by Pentosin. Checking online, the closest place that had it to me was about 45 minutes away, so I was like, let's make the trek out and see if that resolves the issue. So I drove all the way there and came back, topped it up essentially, and it was maybe that much that was missing from the top. So I let it run for about 30 seconds just to make sure the fluid got into the master power steering fluid pump. And as I thought, it actually wouldn't solve the issue. The steering wheel was as hard as it ever had been, and it was just such a chore trying to get this thing to turn. If I can actually, I'm actually slowing down here, and I'll actually move the camera a little bit while we're at this red light, and hope that you guys can see the steering wheel here. So I hope you guys can see the steering wheel right now, and let me demonstrate what I mean to you by the steering wheel won't turn. So here's my two hands, and I'm gonna turn it as hard as I can. Nothing. Like, this is a lot of effort. Imagine parallel parking or having to drive like this. It's almost impossible. Now, the reason why I'm almost certain that the power steering pump is the one that's broken is because if you rev it, all of a sudden you can turn it with one hand, which is not the case when it's at idle or lower up in the RPMs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have to schedule an appointment with Hyundai in order to try and resolve the issue. And I'm pretty sure it's just a power steering pump that the car needs, which is really weird. This car is a pretty low mile car. Hang on. It's a pretty low mile car, and it really shouldn't need a power steering pump when it's at like 25,000 miles. I really don't see how power steering pump can fail that early, but it did. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm going to go get it checked and fixed, and hope for the best. So to give you guys a little background as to what happened when your power steering pump fails, imagine that you're going on the freeway doing about 70, 75 miles an hour when your RPMs are only churning at about 2,500 RPMs, and you're coming up to an on-off ramp. It's obviously extremely hard trying to get this car onto the off-ramp and not crashing into the median when the steering wheel all of a sudden just weighs 300 pounds, as opposed, probably not 300 pounds, but you guys get my expression here, as opposed to, you know, the light and easy steering that it usually comes with. So to my surprise, I was taking the off ramp, and all of a sudden I noticed that, you know, the car's not turning. So I'm like, what the heck? So I put two hands on the wheel and managed to, you know, steer it into the off ramp. I'll keep you guys in the loop as to what happens with the steering in this car. I'm pretty sure that the car needs a power steering pump, but maybe, you know, I'm not a mechanic. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's something super, super simple, but maybe it's something, you know, maybe huge, major. Maybe it's even bigger than the power steering pump, which, you know, again, I don't know what it could be, but I'll keep you guys in the loop. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Look forward to the next video coming out where I'm going to be talking about what happened with my transmission. As you guys know, I had some major transmission issues, and I actually just recently finally got this transmission replaced. I'm still in the process of breaking it in, but you know, as the break-in miles are pretty much almost over here, and I'll finally be able to give it the beans and figure out for myself if this transmission is any different than the one in the old. Have they, you know, resurrected all the grinding issues and things of that nature? So look forward to my thoughts on that. Hopefully it's brand new and won't have any of the old issues, but if it does, I'll let you guys know. And as always, guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up button, share with your friends, and comment down below and let me know what you guys thought, or any, you know, future ideas as to what you want to see with either this car or my GTR. Take care, guys. Bye bye.